listening to the Ball Talk podcast with me, Ryan Bailey. This podcast is brought to you by Adapt Athletic Performance and Therapy. Head over to Instagram and give them a follow at adapt_clinic. If you enjoyed this podcast, don't forget to leave a like, share it with your friends, and hit that subscribe or follow button as well. Without further ado, let's get straight into the podcast. So, this is episode number 58 of the Ball Talk podcast, brought to you as always by Adapt Athletic Performance and Therapy. And today's podcast guest is a first of its kind to come onto the podcast, Jamie Mullarkey. I'll give you a minute to introduce yourself. The floor is yours.
How you going, mate? Yeah, it's Jamie Mullarkey, UFC lightweight fighter. Just back home in hotel quarantine as we speak. So just I'm on my last day. So I've been stuck in a fucking hotel for 14 days. I'm pretty damn keen to get out and go home and see my family. But yeah, good to be on, man.
Good stuff, Jamie. Over the last, I suppose, 7 or 8 weeks now, these podcasts, I'm linking them a bit more to home, a bit more to Sligo. So I know your connection with Sligo, but for people that may not know, what is your connection with Sligo?
So my dad was born and reared in Sligo, in Clinical. So he's that's the last name Mullarkey, and I've got a load of cousins, all my family from my dad's side's out there. So yeah.
Sounds good. So before we get into sports and, you know, growing up, getting into fighting and into the UFC eventually as well, there is a question that I kind of put people on the spot with on the podcast, and it's something a bit different. Well, it's fairly different to what we're going to be talking about for the rest of the podcast. So I'm handing you a golden ticket, and that golden ticket reads Jamie Mullarkey's dream concert. Okay.
Oh,
I think you can kind of get where I'm getting at here. You've got one, I suppose you can nearly call it a one-day festival sort of a thing. It's your 3 dream concert acts, and they can be dead or alive. It could be literally anybody you wanted to be. Now, there's been a good variation in these so far. You can think of, there's plenty of different bands, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Oasis, you name it, people have said it so far. So just get a perspective and a feel for what sort of music you're into, Jamie. What would be your 3? I know I'm putting you on the spot a bit here as well.
Yeah, the 3. So the main act would be Rage Against the Machine. That'd be my number 1. Supported by Red Hot Chili Peppers. I've never seen them live, but always been a big fan. Third one, man, I don't know. Third one, I'll go. I've never seen John Butler. I'll just go John Butler. But my main 2 would be Rage Against the Machine and Red Hot Chili's.
Sounds good. I'll have to compile a list of all these different ones now, because it's quite a variety in them so far. So we've got that question out of the way. I suppose, what would you call it? The most commonly asked question on the podcast. That's out of the way. We'll go back to Jamie Mullarkey as a kid and growing up and playing sports. Was fighting and the UFC, was that something that you could see doing from an early age, or was it completely different sports that you were into?
Yeah, man, it wasn't really. I started training in mixed martial arts when I was 14, but before that, I was just like your average kind of sporty kid, I guess. Just playing soccer, basketball, cricket, rugby union, and then in the off season of rugby, I was watching The Ultimate Fighter, so just sort of thought I want to give that a go, and started just in the off season of rugby just to sort of keep fit, and then got good at it and just stuck at it.
So would rugby have been the main one? So at that stage of your life?
Yeah, rugby.
Okay,
but I only played for like a couple of years.
Yeah. So getting into the mixed martial arts, you said then, what type of thing you kind of, was it something that you fell in love with straight away when you went to it, or was it a case of, do you know what, I'm actually fairly good at this, I'm going to give it a go, or was it a combination of the two?
It was a combination, man. It was I loved it, like straight off the bat. I learned how to do an armbar the first week I was there, and then the second week I put another kid in an armbar, and it was like just in front of the whole class. It was like everyone watching, and I really liked the. And then as the further I went, I started picking it up a little bit more naturally than I would on a lot of other sports. And then when I got off the fight, I'd fight, and I was doing pretty well in my fights. And then like over time, just sort of got stuck in it.
So was it something that, did you have that even on the rugby pitch, and that was it something? Did you have that bit of a, how would I even, that sort of tiger sort of nature about you that you would be able to adapt to the MMA side of things straight away?
Not really, man. I was like competitive. I was fucking fierce competitive all growing up. I think I get that from my mum. She's very, very, very competitive. But I never had like a real good work ethic and a good like desire until fighting, and then that just kind of like lit a fire in me. I think because it's so demanding. To be honest, I think it's so demanding because you're the only one in there. You haven't got a team to hide behind. Yeah. So when you're in there under the bright lights, and it's just you're what's the word I'm looking for? You're very self accountable. Because it's all on you. So it made me kind of go, fuck, well, if I'm fighting these guys, I better start putting in some work and actually really training hard, and then just went from there.
I want to talk about your team actually later on in the podcast, but just to keep on the track of the early stages of your career, was there a specific victory in your younger years in your career that made you say, geez, I can make a living out of this, or I'm going to, take that bit more serious. I'm going to up the ante here?
Probably, again, like an accumulation, just after when I started, probably when I won my first Australian title, I think I was about 5-0 or 6-0, undefeated as a pro. So I sort of started looking at it a bit more seriously, like I could maybe give this a crack. That was probably it.
So we go into your last fight, your first UFC victory, if I'm not mistaken, against Khama Worthy, which is 10 days ago nearly now. Would that be right?
Yeah, about 2 weeks ago.
So talk me through that. 46-second knockout. You spoke something that I admire about you as well is you're quite humble in your post-fight conference and interviews as well, that you're saying how you expected a longer fight, but the chance was there, so you took it.
Yeah, that's it, man. Like at this level, everyone's going to be tough. So there's no easy fights in the UFC. Everyone that gets there is there for a reason. So we were expecting a tough war, but everyone's got the capability to put each other away in the first round. You don't get those very often, so I'll take them where I can get it. But yeah, that's kind of like how I am going into most of my fights. I'm looking for the finish, and I'm gonna try and get that finish as soon as I can. But I'm expecting, like we train for a war, you got to train for the worst.
And is that left hook? Is that like would that be your signature? So,
I think yeah, my left hook's my money shot. My coach Ross Pearson, he called this from the first day that I was matched with Khama. He said, I think you'll catch him with that left hook on the inside.
And you said it there. Actually, you've said it there again about 2 minutes ago, and it was something that I heard in your post-fight press conference. You said how it was something that we anticipated, and to me that means obviously yourself and your team. Talk to me about the importance of your team and building a team of the right people around you, and to help you progress in your career and get to where you are now and to further your career as well?
Yeah, man, your career, your team is like everything. For us getting in there, we're in there by ourselves, but it's a big team effort to get each other in there. So you want those guys that are in the gym with you, grinding, pushing as hard as you are, and like you want it competitive as well. We're helping each other out by beating each other up. You know what I mean? The importance of your team, like even getting along with your team, like it's very important, and we've got that going on at Central Coast MMA, and I've been working with freestyle MMA as well. I did most of my camp down there, it's really important to have those that good training environment and a good team around you. Man, it'll make all the difference in your performance.
And just out of curiosity, like, how many people are we talking this team? Like, how far does it stretch out?
I think our pro fight team's got about 12 guys in our gym, but that's like I'll look for quality over quantity. You could have 40 guys on the mat, but they're not like we were just talking about. They might not be. They might not have your best interest at heart. Like you can get, because people are funny, man. Like people can come into the gym and try to be the tough guy, and could try hurt other guys or whatever. But those guys get weeded out pretty quickly. So we're a pretty small gym ourselves at Central Coast, but like I said, quality over quantity.
And this team now, so is this a team of yourself and coaches, or a team of yourself and other fighters as well, or is there kind of a mix again?
Yeah, both. So I'll have my wrestling coach, my jiu-jitsu coach, my striking and MMA coach, and my strength and conditioning coach. So because mixed martial arts, we're doing a lot, right? Like there's a lot to cover. So we've got a team of all my coaches that help me in different areas of where I've got to improve, and always got to improve everywhere. And then you've got your training partners as well that will be basically doing the same thing as I'm doing, but we just do it together.
Gotcha, yeah. So you're, as we said, nearly 2 weeks post-fight. You're in quarantine now. How are you finding the time there?
Yeah, it's been rough, man. It is like it's a lot sweeter this time than the last time I had the quarantine, because I got the win, and it adds that other element to fighting now. I feel very lucky that I'm able to fight in this time, in this pandemic. I'm extremely lucky to be able to compete, but it definitely puts a dampener on even me getting the win. Like I come home and it's fucking sucks, man. It's like kills your buzz, you know what I mean? Like I could have been home 2 weeks ago with my friends and my family, like celebrating this win, but we've got to be stuck in the hotel. But it is what it is. Just got to suck it up and do it for now.
Yeah, and I hope to God you do get to celebrate soon. But just on the 2 weeks, is this a 2 weeks rest period, chill out time, or are you still doing bits and pieces because you got a lot of time on your hands as well?
Yeah, man. Well, that's about all we can do in here. So we're still training in here, but I am like letting the body recover a little bit. Had a couple of little niggles and sort of injuries going into the fight. So letting the body recover is actually a good thing in here. But we're still just keeping moving and keeping active.
What's your, again, out of curiosity, in terms of recovery, because a lot of people have their own different things when it comes to recovery in different types of sport. Is there anything that you find works for you when it comes to MMA and it comes to the UFC?
Yeah, man, I'm still learning. I'm still learning so much about recovery, because the amount that we train and how hard we push ourselves, the recovery is so important. I never used to do it before I was like at this full time, you know. But I think like for me, my favorite thing to do is to basically like rest up and just relax my mind more than anything. And I've got cryo central recovery. I don't know what you call it, like a recovery center. So I go in there and they've got like the cryopod machine that like it's high technology of recovery like tools. So I go in there and I spend like 2 hours in there just recovering my body from all the bumps, bruises, knocks, injuries. And yeah, it's a massive important thing, man. The recovery, like it's there's that old saying, you can't overtrain. There's no such thing as overtraining, but there is such thing as under recovery. So it's very important. And it, like I said, it's something that I'm still learning with.
As you said as well, the recovery, when you said you took this on as full time, the recovery was something that you learned more about. What were you doing as well as fighting before you went full time? Like, did you go to college? Was it like an apprenticeship? What was your?
Yeah, I was a plumber.
Okay.
Yeah, plumber by trade. So I was plumber, I think, when I was 17, and I stopped plumbing when I made the UFC. So like 2 years ago.
Okay. Very good, very good. So talk to me about a day in the life. I'm kind of dipping it. I know I'm firing questions at you, and I'm dipping in and out of questions that I've prepared and that people have sent through on Instagram as well. And talk me through, obviously, a day in the life right now is very heavily quarantine based, but in an ideal scenario, in an ideal world, whether it be training for a fight that's in 2 weeks, I know it's different training for a fight in 2 weeks and not having a fight immediately to train for. But what would a day in the life of Jamie Mullarkey be like?
So when I've got a fight coming up and when I don't have a fight coming up, they're a little bit different. Still training like twice a day, every day. So that's pretty much what takes up a lot of the time. So like we were just talking about the recovery. So I'll pretty much do an AM session. I like to get that in before 10 a.m. So then I've got time to recover in between those sessions. So in between the sessions, man, I recover by going to the beach, having a swim, going into Cryo Plus, stretching, keeping on top of my nutrition, all the things that you're supposed to do as a pro athlete, I guess. And then I'll go in again for my PM session at night. That could be 2 hours usually, about 2 hours or more. So then that when I haven't got a fight coming up, it's I just get a little bit more time to I do some PTs and just do normal stuff, normal life stuff. Take my dog down to the beach.
Yeah, good stuff. Just kind of sifting through some of the questions that were sent in here as well. So we've covered, of course, the day in the life question as well. Talk to me about nutrition. One question that was sent in. So as you said, you were a plumber and a fighter at the same time, and going from that to being a full-time fighter, the nutrition change as well as the whole lifestyle change, basically. How did you find that, and were there any, guilty pleasures when it came to food that you found hard to give up?
Yeah, like all through my fighting career, I'd be eating pretty healthy. And it's the nutrition's massive, man. It's so important, as everyone knows. But so here's the difference between when I was working full time and trying to fight on the side between now. My knowledge is so much better for what I should be eating and my nutrition. Because I'd be trying to eat healthy. I lost you there. Yeah, I'd be trying to eat healthy through working and everything, but what I thought was healthy, like, wasn't fueling my body right. So I'd be eating, like, for instance, I'd be eating like one carb meal a day, and the rest would be like protein and fruit and things like I'd be eating fucking salads for lunch and shit like that. I'd be working a full day on the tools and then trying to go straight into training in the it's fucking depleting my body and not getting the best out of my performance. And since going full time, I've teamed up with Jordan Sullivan and he's known as the fight dietitian here in Australia. I'm not sure if you've heard of him, but he's very popular. He's worked with a lot of the guys from City Kickboxing in New Zealand. He works with the featherweight champ Alex Volkanovski. He worked with Leon Edwards there over in England for his last fight. So Geordie's the man. He's very, very knowledgeable, and he basically sorts out my nutrition now. So I just basically eat what he tells me to eat. But he's given me a lot more understanding of what you should be eating as a full-time athlete, because we train so hard. You have to recover and you have to fuel your body right. If you're not fueling your body right, you're not getting the best out of your training and your performances.
So what I find interesting about that, you speak about the nutritionist. So you got your nutritionist is so important. So is your S&C coach. So is your jiu-jitsu coach, your wrestling coach. Finding the right person to fit into that role, is it a trial and error sort of thing, or do you go to someone and say, look, I need someone that can help me to do this? You know, who would you recommend? How did you come about these people?
Man, I've been pretty lucky to everyone that's been in my team. You got to believe in your team, right? Like, I think it's kind of like you can't really have someone in your corner, and then if you lose, be like, oh well, you can fuck off. I'll go to someone else. It's not really like that. But yeah, what you're saying is right. You have to seek out the best kind of the best experience and the best knowledge that you can to better yourself. So it is important, and I think that like word of mouth, the people that you meet, and like their results will show for themselves. You know what I mean? Like Geordie, when I got on with Jordan, because I've never had a nutritionist in my life. I just always ate what I thought was right. And then when Geordie reached out to me, I was looking at the guys that he was working with, and I was like, fuck, he's doing something right. You know what I mean? He's working with world champions. So, yeah, of course I jumped on board with that.
Absolutely. So 2 last questions. One is an interesting one here. I was only actually asked this myself the other day. It was sent in on Instagram too. Would you rather fight a tiger on land or an alligator in water?
Yes, here we go. Here's the questions that I was waiting for. What was it again? A tiger on land?
So a tiger on land or an alligator in water?
Oh, fuck. I reckon I'd try my luck with an alligator. You'd be fucked with both, but I think I'd rather try eye gouge an alligator or something. Maybe if I could get a good eye gouge in an alligator, he might let me go and swim off. Yeah. But I think with the tiger, I don't think you're doing much with the tiger.
I like how you're thinking strategically as well with the alligator. You're going straight for the eye.
Yeah. Always.
That final question, and it's a double barrel question, Jamie. Who's next and what's next for Jamie Mullarkey?
Who's next? Honestly, there's so many names in the UFC lightweight roster, and I'm ready to fight anyone that they put in front of me. I know it's a pretty cliche thing to say, like everyone that gets in the UFC is like, I'll fight anyone, but honestly, I don't care. I will fight whoever they put in front of me. It's good to get me foot in the door with that win now, so I'm ready to start really racking up some names and making a streak of my own.
Sounds good, Jamie. I wish you the very best of luck in the future, and thank you very much for coming on to the Ball Talk podcast.
Thanks very much, mate.